Today's topic, what makes a good board game Kickstarter? Welcome to TABLEscraps, short discussions about board, card, and tabletop gaming, submitted by the viewing audience and discussed with the viewing audience. Hey everyone! Hi and welcome back to another episode of TABLEscraps, the live streaming show in which we discuss a topic related to tabletop gaming with the YouTube live streaming chat. And today's topic does not come from a viewer. It actually comes from another member of the industry who was looking for some information, so I thought I would help them out by asking their question that they asked me to the live streaming chat and also the future YouTube audience to find out from all of you, in your opinion, what makes a quality board game Kickstarter fundraising campaign. Now, I have a couple of little thoughts on this, but I'm going to just present mine real quick, and then I want to spend the time getting as much feedback from all of you on this topic, because I really want to know what your experiences have been, your suggestions, and your opinions. So, let's start. Well, first of all, I think it goes without saying that obviously, if you're going to run a Kickstarter for a board game, paramount, the very first thing that you need is a high quality game. I'm talking about mechanisms, talking about engagement, talking about fun. It doesn't have to be a big, huge game, sprawling game that falls on the floor when you nudge the table. It can be a simple game. It could be one dice that you roll. I don't care. But what's important is that it is fun and it's a quality game. So I think that, of course, obviously, is the most important thing. After that, the next suggestion that was made to me, and these are in no particular order, but the next suggestion that was made is, well, you better have fantastic artwork, whether that's illustrations or miniatures or 3D sculpted things. If you're going to go and have a fundraiser, you better put your best face forward when it comes to your artwork. Because if the artwork is abysmal, especially when it comes to a game that's having a fundraiser made for it, you're not going to perform as well as you could, because that art is going to be a hook that brings people in. They're going to see it and they're going to make that visual judgment. I was wondering what you guys think about that. What's your experience been with artwork in Kickstarters? The next item on my list was lessons that I've learned from other board game publishers who have run successful board game fundraising campaigns, like Jamie Stegmaier of Stonemaier Games, who runs amazing campaigns for fantastic games. What I've learned from him is to have this level of communication and transparency when you're running a Kickstarter. That's very important. For example, I want to know if you guys think that this is accurate. Lots of times it seems that people don't, if a Kickstarter runs into problems, people are a lot more forgiving if the person running the Kickstarter is upfront about those problems and communicates it and is transparent about it instead of just disappearing. That level of communication and transparency during and after the campaign, I think, is very important. And finally, controversial item on my list is promotional content and stretch goals. I think I've made it clear that I'm not a huge fan of Kickstarter exclusives. I think there are other ways to make exclusives that maybe they're only exclusive for like 6 months to a year or something and they're released later or something like that. But I'm not a big fan of something where you snooze, you lose type of content in a Kickstarter. If you don't get it on day one, you're not going to be able to ever get it at all. I'm not a fan of that. But I do think that promotional content, stretch goals, and some sort of incentives in the campaign itself, special things you're only going to get in the campaign, or at least early in the campaign, I think that even if people do complain about them, like me, I think that they do still work enough that they may be a necessity to increase the amount of backing that a Kickstarter gets. That is when I really definitely want to know. Have you succumbed to the lure of exclusivity or special promotions during a campaign? Or do you not care? Let me know that and everything else having to do about what makes a successful board game Kickstarter in the chat and the comments. Going to do something a little bit different this time too with the chat in the comments. Since we are not addressing a specific individual's question, I'm going to take lots of screenshots in here, but I'm going to also just read through a lot of these comments as well. I might not respond to them. It's kind of a big lightning round in a way. I will respond to some when appropriate, but I also want to get as many people's thoughts and ideas on this topic out there in the air as possible. So that's the way I'm going to approach the chat comments this time. Start with Gil, who says communication is key, and a well-explained campaign, and a good game idea. All of those are key. Toyota says that the number one thing all Kickstarters need is communication. Respond to comments before the end. Lots of updates. And once you take my money, give me updates. Don't go months without updates. Grrr. So that's actually one thing in my own campaigns for the Pair of Dice Paradise fundraiser. I've worried about spamming people with too many updates. That, I don't want to hear about your thing every week. But perhaps I've been a little too cautious about that myself. And so that's something I can use in my own campaign as well. And I will take that to heart. But let's continue. Peter says, point blank, no early birds. Makes sense? I've heard many people dislike early bird specials. But do they work enough that it's worth it to the publisher to make those few people disgruntled because of the early birds, because they get the extra pledges because of them? Is there that trade-off? Personally, I don't think it's worth it, but I could be wrong there. Let me know what you think. Let's continue on. Colin says, a good Kickstarter is one that gives you a decent amount of stuff for what you pay, or just a Kickstarter that turns out to be a good game. So there we really have getting a good value for your Kickstarter pledge. Okay, fair enough. Let's continue on. Christopher says, they should not have anything that you can't get later. So exclusives should be timed exclusives, if at all. A compromise is for any backer to have access to buy an exclusive later. We are of the same mind there, you and I, Christopher, so that makes sense. It's nice to hear another vote for that approach. If anyone has a differing opinion, though, be sure to let me know in the chat as well. I see right after this, the 3 comments immediately after Christopher are yes, yes, and yup. So, okay, there we have definitely a consensus about not having exclusives be exclusive. Peter says, along with early birds, I'm also not a fan of exclusives. Make them a limited time, or maybe an art exclusive or something, but not like a component or content exclusive. Absolutely. Zachary says, anything and everything that makes it clear that there is an actual game that was made. Video that shows real components. Reviews that show someone has played the game and well-explained rules. Oh, see, that is one I never even thought of. I guess it's true. There are Kickstarter campaigns that create the campaign but have absolutely nothing to show for it at the time the campaign is made. I know that as I've been researching this more and more, that there is a lot of upfront work, commissioning art, a lot of design work, getting prototypes built, a lot of pre-Kickstarter creation that has to be done before you even launch your Kickstarter in order to have the content to show on your Kickstarter page and in the videos. So Zachary, absolutely, I think that's one that some first-time Kickstarter people or people new to the board game scene don't take that into account. And that is a large upfront usage of time and money. So excellent point there, Zachary. Peter says, if you run a campaign, don't lie to your backers, especially with things that can be verified very easily. That's one of those things where, of course, good advice, and something that I would think is an easier trap to fall into than one might think, but definitely something to keep in mind. Yes, just if you're having problems or something doesn't go as expected, be upfront about it, because I think in the long run, it will make for a more successful campaign, or at least as successful as possible. You're not going to make more problems for yourself. Sasha says, I dislike exclusives. I end up not buying games I missed the Kickstarter for because of the missing exclusives. A few are fine, but too many might discourage potential non-Kickstarter buyers. Sasha, I gotta admit, I see merit in what you're saying there. And to be honest, that is why I don't have a copy of Blood Rage on my shelf. I missed out on it, and I decided, with all of the neat extra goodies that the Kickstarter had, I'll just play a copy my friends have, or I'll wait for something else. And that level of exclusives that they gave out with Blood Rage had the same effect on me that it has on you as well. So very good point. Axon Troll also chimes in to say, no exclusives and good communication. So there we go. It's nice to see a trend of things that are important to people in Kickstarters. Instead of it being just, random stuff from everybody else, it is nice to see that there does seem to be a potential list of things that will definitely help a Kickstarter campaign because they're on people's minds. Colin also mentions a good Kickstarter is sending a review copy to the Dice Tower. See, this goes right along with having content, prototypes and such up front, doing that work beforehand. In addition to the Dice Tower, a good sampling of other reviewers and perspectives in addition to your own is probably something that will help, not only have PR and marketing for your Kickstarter, but also get different points of view on it so you're not just talking in a vacuum or an echo chamber. So thank you, Colin. That is also a really good example. Kabuki mentions, if your game is already established and you're simply doing a new version of it, or a deluxeified edition, or an expansion, you already have a built-in audience. Doing a new game is obviously trickier. That's a really good point too. So, is an established company's advantage enough of an advantage where a new company or first-time Kickstarter company should do things differently? Or is it all just a case where there are specific right things to do, and no matter if you're established or new, you should just do X things? Be interested in knowing your guys' opinion on that as well. The next opinion that we're going to get comes from Blaine, who says, seconding the communication. Clear timelines, especially between campaign and fulfillment, is all very important. Delays can happen, but being vague about delivery gets very annoying. Very good point there. Timelines especially. That's one thing that Kickstarters, of course, are notorious for, having their timelines slip. So having revisions and communication about your timelines, especially as they are adjusted, I can see how that's really important. So thank you for mentioning that one, Blaine. John says, one of my favorite things is when a designer/publisher engages with the audience. Gloomhaven scenarios, or have backers vote on colors or features. All of the stuff where the people who are backing the game can have some say in it. That is a really good point. Axon Troll says, White Wizard games are really good about exclusives. All their exclusives are released about a year later with alternate art. Boom! There you go. Alternate art. That makes the exclusive available to everyone after some time goes by, but the people who got it during the campaign still have something special and unique, don't they? Because of the alternate art. Thank you, Axon Troll. That is a wonderful example of a way a Kickstarter can handle whatever they're called, can handle exclusives. Thank you for that. Ethan says, one thing that's important before the campaign is to network and get people excited about your game and make an email list. You want to have a lot of people ready to back on day one. Excellent advice there, Ethan. And that is true. That's part of that extra work that goes in beforehand. Very excellent suggestion. Thank you. Haim says, for me, as someone who lives outside of the US or EU, the shipping prices on Kickstarters are a huge deal. In my humble opinion, if the creators take the time and have the chops to make the price fair, then that's a good sign. Very, very good point there. And it's good to see how the shipping prices can impact the people's decision to back. Because I know there's the whole concept of being EU friendly, where games can be printed and such and distributed from the EU, reducing shipping prices. So I know that is something that is on a lot of backers' minds and can influence their decision to back a game or not. We're going to wrap up with a comment from D.E. Crispin, who says, Kickstarters need a realistic timeline for fulfillment and a business plan. absolutely there. I absolutely agree, D.E. Chrisman. Business plan is something else in the preparation phase that we didn't touch on. If you're going to produce a game on Kickstarter, you got to do more than just posting your idea and assuming people are going to get excited about it. I am also a firm believer that you have to approach it as a business, which again, getting your prototypes before, getting your business plan, what are your estimates for printing and development and your timeline, your estimates for sales, who is your market, who is your sample customer, all of that stuff. I absolutely agree. And all of that goes into having a cohesive, concrete business plan. So thank you very much for that. That is an excellent place to wrap up today's chat. Wow, that was a great flurry of comments and suggestions and ideas and opinions on your experience with Kickstarter. But really, let's not stop the conversation here. I encourage everyone who has more comments or experiences or suggestions or opinions on this topic to share them either in the YouTube comments below or over on our Facebook page where we can continue the conversation there as well. And before I go, speaking of fundraising campaigns, I just want to remind everybody that episodes like this have been made possible by viewers like you who have been financially supporting Pair of Dice Paradise on our own Pod Pledge fundraising campaign. Thank you so much for your support. It really does make a difference, and it's really greatly appreciated. Until next time, I've been Chaz Marler, who, along with the YouTube live streaming chat, have been serving up some table scraps. Talk to you again soon. Let's start off with Gil, who verifies that yes, communication is key, and a well-explained campaign and the game idea. For communication being key, I really didn't communicate that very well, did I? Let's start over.